Welcome back to the Centre Half Bench, a lighter take on all things AFL. My name's Brenton, with me is Carl. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Very well, very well. Mate, week one and done.
Week one is finished,
In
but
the books.
how good was round one?
It was just nice to have footy back.
It's great to have footy back. And thanks so much, everyone who gave us a little listen, follow last week. Absolutely amazing. All your support. It's been great.
Super stoked to have everyone, giving us some comments and getting the Facebook page over 100 likes.
That's it.
Been a great time.
Should have put us captain last week, Brenton.
We'll get to that, mate. We'll get to that. But Carl, let's start the podcast. Your moment of the round. What was your highlight of the weekend's footy?
Probably for me, it was probably a low light. It was the first time I've seen somebody spoil the ball or save a goal with their face. Take you back to Friday night, Brenton. Tom Langdon
please.
On the line. I don't understand how it happened. I don't think anyone was near him. And clear ball straight to the scone. The Falcons back, round one, Friday night spectacle. Not only that, he had to come off for blood rule.
There's just a few things that are just unique to the game.
Yeah.
And just copping a Falcon straight in the scone. Oh, and the embarrassment's bad enough, but to come off with the blood rule.
Blood rule.
Oh,
Tell
Langdon.
you what.
Oh, dear.
Poor bloke. What about yours? What was your moment,
What was
Brenton?
mine? Oh, mate, well...
Probably Lions related.
Short
surely.
odds on what my moment of the round was. Mate, I tell you what. As a Lion supporter, you're always... You're a bit reserved in how you're going. So, mate, watched a lot of the game. Watched the whole game, I must say. And when Zorko got the softest free kick I've ever seen in the middle of the ground... strutted. He didn't run, 50-metre penalty. Nah, he strolled up to 40 metres and slammed through the goal. Mate, the roar he unleashed made my weekend. Lions kick 100 points, knock over the reigning premiers. That was my moment of the round, mate. But let's look at... Oh, actually, no. What do we... let's
Well, we're going to introduce...
Please.
One of
Getting ahead of myself.
That's all right. We're going to introduce our Player of the Year, if you will. Mm-hmm. We're giving it the Golden Bench Award.
Yep.
So each week when we do our reviews, we're going to give you our 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
We'll tally them up. We'll put them on Facebook and Twitter sort of at the end of the week. Maybe not after round one because there's going to be 9 blokes on 3, 9 blokes on 2.
Boring round one. Don't need that.
Yeah,
Yep.
we don't need that. But after this round, Brenton, what are we calling it?
Oh, the Golden Bench.
The Golden Bench.
Golden Bench.
That's it.
You already... But I tell you what...
Also the other one.
Well,
you introduce the other one for me.
This is my favourite award, and because, especially as a non-Victorian supporting member, a lot of your players go unnoticed. But we're going to make sure that changes. We're going to have our unsung hero award. Now, every game we're going to pick a player from each team who we reckon flies under the radar a bit. So we're going to have the unsung hero of the year award, which is the UHOTY award.
You little hottie.
Also, you hottie award. So we're going to go through our games, go through our game reviews, mate. And I think I'll kick us off.
Yeah, you kick us off, but mate, I just want to say, how good was round one?
Please, round one. It's just nice.
What did you tip this week?
I think I got 4.
I got 5.
Oh, that'll be right.
If you got 9, you're a liar.
If you got 9, you don't know football, and you're probably wrong. You'll never get 9 again.
You're probably the ones that in the office at the start of the season put all your tips in before round one and then nicked off. From rounds 1 to 23. You've already got your premiers tipped. That's it.
Yeah, you'll never get 9 again either. All right, let's cast our mind back. It seems like a while ago now, back to old Thursday night. We were both working, but thankfully I did get home about quarter time. And I was able to watch Richmond play Carlton. And to be totally honest, to go through some stats first, Richmond defeated Carlton 14-13-97 to Carlton 9-10-64. So Richmond getting over the line by 33 points. Richmond goal kickers, Lynch, Higgins and Nankervis all kicked 3. We have Rewalt, Weller, Bolter, McIntosh and Butler with 1. And then for Carlton, we had McKay kicking 2. Fisher, McGovern, Charlie Curnow, Fasolo, Murphy, Newman and Thomas all kicking 1 goal.
How about that celebration from Thomas?
To the wings.
The wings.
Goodness gracious.
Sorry to interrupt. I just thought that was a nice...
When you're down by 30, come on, champ. Pull yourself together. Far out. Top performers, Paddy Cripps, dominant as usual. Carlton, 32 touches, 6 tackles and 7 clearances. Trent Cotchin was my pick from Richmond. 31, 6 marks and 6 inside 50s. I'll come back to my unsung hero,
yeah, of course.
The moment of the game for me, probably, I would say, almost the best name in the AFL, Maverick Weller. And now at his third club, he kicked his first goal. He sealed the game. And just like his cheer, you almost felt like his celebration. It was like, geez, it's so good to be back. I'm so glad that I'm here on a great team. Get around him. That was my moment of the game. Supplemental selection of people who have been delisted in that. How good's that going to be? So,
That's
that was
his third club now.
Yeah, because he was. Did he start at Gold Coast?
Started at the Suns,
and then St Kilda,
and then St Kilda, and now he's at
the Tigers.
Real workhorse. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, good.
I hope he keeps his spot.
Absolutely, me too. Few things I noticed from the game. Carlton's fight was promising. You know what? Because at the start of the game, McIntosh kicked his sixth goal. Carlton hadn't kicked one yet. We just started the second quarter, and I'm thinking, here we go. It's going to be a 100-point loss. We're going to sit here and talk about how Richmond Carlton's shouldn't be the way we start the season, but Carlton fight back, which was really good. But Richmond always find a way. They came back against Hawthorn in the JLT, and then they survived a Melbourne threat, and they survived another threat again on Thursday night, and so they're a bloody good side. Tom Lynch at full forward and Rewald at centre half forward makes me so happy. It reminded me of...
Not for me, we've got to take them on Friday night.
It reminds me of like a Buddy and Roughhead when they were flying for the Hawks. Just that two tall towers up
but
forward.
athletic still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that could be dangerous. Carlton's guns were Jets, Walsh and Setterfield, just like we thought. They'll be really great, and I think help elevate Carlton. But the biggest piece of news from this game, Alex Rance doing his ACL. Yeah. He's integral to Richmond's backline. I still think he's overrated, but you could just see that was when Big Harry started to come into the game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they might get caught out there. And you know what? I'm gonna introduce something that we've been doing. A few people have been getting on board. Twitter polls. We're going to run Twitter polls as we go through. Yeah. Our Twitter poll for after this round: can the Tigers still win the flag without Alex Rance? What do you reckon, mate?
I still think they can. And I think I said this at the start of the year. Their depth's going to be tested.
Yeah.
They still have the best 22 on paper. It's going to be tough. I think they've got Garthwaite as an option to come back in.
Brandon Ellis too.
And Brandon Ellis. But Garthwaite to take like the key position
Yeah, that
post.
big spot.
I don't know if he's going to... He's obviously not Alex Rance. I still think that they can do it. They're still good across the park. They're elite everywhere.
I too think they can still do it, but I would bring in Brandon Ellis and I would change the structure of the back line. Because you still need... And like I was hearing today, Bolter's a big guy. Why don't we push him down at back line? No, I wouldn't be doing that.
You don't move rucks into defence.
Yeah.
You don't move forwards back into defence. It's different if they've grown up playing there.
Exactly.
But Bolter isn't a defender.
Yeah.
He's played predominantly forward ruck his whole career.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Okay, my unsung hero. This kid, I haven't rated for a long time. I will frequently say how rubbish he is, but he really impressed me on Thursday night. Jacob Wiedering. Yeah. He had 12 intercept marks. He went at 88% effective disposals, and he kept Lynch to only one mark in the very start of the game.
Yeah.
So hats off to him. Well done, Jacob. And then Basher Hooley was my unsung hero for the Tigers. He's seriously underrated. Not enough people talk about him as a running back. 8 rebound 50s and 5 score involvements. From your half backer.
That's exactly what you want.
That's what you want. My 3-2-1. I gave 3 votes to Patrick Cripps.
Yep.
2 votes to Big Toby Nankervis, the big ruckman, knocking 3 home of his own.
Love it when a ruckman kicks sausages.
Love it. Exactly. It takes me back. Not that I ever kicked any goals.
Brother.
And then Trent Cotchin, I gave him the 1 vote. He had his impressions on the game and all that, but only going at 51% effectiveness, you got to be better than that. So only 1 vote for me. All right, champ, that brings it up to Friday night.
Friday night, probably a game to forget for me, but at the same time, we've got to watch the games. It's part of the job description now.
Jeez, hard work.
Hard work. Collingwood versus Geelong. Now, this is a game that I think you and I both thought. We both had Collingwood winning just. I don't think either of us thought Collingwood were going to win by a lot.
No.
And it pretty much panned out that way for most of the game in terms of how it was played. So Geelong defeated Collingwood 10 goals, 12-72 to 9 goals, 11-65. It was pretty much neck and neck until the last minute. And The goal scorers for Geelong, Hawthorn and Ablett had 2. Dangerfield, Selwood, Duncan, Dalhouse, Parfitt and Constable, all with the singles. Collingwood goal scorers, Elliott had 3, 2 to DeGoey, and singles to Cox, Brown, Treloar and Beams. Top performers for Geelong, easily for me, man of the match, Tim Kelly. He had 31 touches. He ran at 75% efficiency. He had 7 intercept possessions coming through the midfield, 24 pressure acts and 6 marks.
24. Oh,
24.
That's awesome.
Big effort from him. A lot of questions were being asked of him too, because of his, the go-home factor. I think he's going to have a ripping year.
Yeah.
He's the kind of player that looks like he's not going to be phased.
Yeah.
Top performer for Collingwood. There are a lot of mediocre performances from Collingwood, and a lot of people will probably bash me because I'm not picking the 34 disposal getter Adam Treloar, but he wasn't even in my top 10. Chris Mayne, for me, was probably our best user of the footy that day. He had 22 touches. He was really efficient with it. He was in the high 70s, 7 intercept possessions, and 24 pressure acts as well. So he had a really, really good game, I thought, and probably carrying on from last year. I like what Mayne's done with himself. A lot of people thought he was down and out. I definitely did. Unsung hero, your boy Tom Stewart. He ripped us a new one in defence. He had 26 at 70% efficiency, 8 intercept possessions, 7 marks, and then 9 rebound 50s, which is amazing. He's a key defender, but he plays pretty medium size. He's got a bit of a tank as well.
Got a bit of pace, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Unsung hero for Collingwood, I thought Darcy Moore had a ripping game.
Yeah.
Probably the worst haircut on the ground, but definitely had a ripping game. He had 16 possessions at 81% efficiency, which is good for a bloke that, is pretty much playing as your fullback. He had 8 intercept possessions, 12 1%ers and 1 massive knee to the face. Did you see that in the last quarter?
I missed that.
He copped I think it was Hawkins coming back with the flight of the ball and just a knee straight to the face. Got straight back up though, loved it, kept playing. The moment. Now, for me, it was DeGoey missing that goal.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, and I've watched the vision so many times, Jeremy Howe, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
This is not the first time he's done this too. Did this against Richmond last year as well. We were down by a goal. He had the whole fat side of the ground open. And 4 players. I'll tell you who they were. Stevenson, DeGoey, Myercheck, Varco. Ball gets out, no way Geelong were going to catch them.
Yeah.
All he had to do was kick it over the top of them, let them run.
Yep.
Decides to kick a cross goal, which is number 1 rule in tackers. you never kick a cross goal. And he kicked it straight to Dangerfield, regardless of whether he kicked
a cross goal. He kicked it straight up the guts, mate. Dangerfield was like up and down.
It was definitely a complete shank of the footy. There's no way you could intentionally do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't intentionally do that.
Mate, and that was my takeaway from this game.
Yeah.
You're a Pie supporter.
Yeah.
It was a rubbish game of football.
It was a rubbish game of footy.
It was the fact that, your takeaway is how turning it over and a kick out. And and then 2 minutes before that, Blutzov just kicking it out on the full.
Out on the full, that's it.
It was a trashy game. Which
it was really, really bad.
Two teams who I both think will go, pretty hard to finals, pretty deep into September.
Yeah.
Just expect a bit more.
Yeah, so some of the general notes. It was a great performance by Geelong in the second half. They were shocking in the first half. Strong leadership from their captain, Joel Selwood. He just does what he has to do. He was very composed with the ball. Constable, I really liked him. He's going to be a really good player. Kicked a handy goal too. Pretty much, it was a goal that brought them back into it in that last quarter as well. I don't think there's any alarm bells for the Pies yet, but I think they really should have had the game won and done by half time. They kicked 6 points from set shots in the second quarter and 2 out on the fulls from on the run. Should have been 40 points up at half time.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. My 3-2-1s, Tim Kelly, as I said, he was the best player on the ground that day. Joel Selwood for his second half, and then Dangerfield as well.
Beautiful, mate.
Tell us a little bit about the next game.
The first boil over, I reckon. Melbourne, we all sort of picked them. I think we both picked Melbourne to get over the top of Port Adelaide. But
yeah, we did.
Our first,
we did say it was going to be a bit of a danger game for him too.
But geez, Melbourne going down to Port Adelaide. Melbourne kicked 9-7-61, defeated by Port Adelaide, who kicked 12-15-87. Westhoff kicking a lazy 5. Like the first bag of the
love
year.
the people's beard.
Yeah. Little Zach Butters kicking 2. Gray Boak, Dersma, Marshall, and Ebert all with 1. The Milkshake Melksham. Jeez, that's a bit hard. Kicked a 2. Brayshaw, Petrarca, Wiedemann, Fritsch, Jones, McDonald, and Sparrow all with 1 goal. My top performer, the ex-Lion, the pig was back. Tommy Rockcliffe racking up 44 touches with 10 marks and 8 tackles. Topped the AFL fantasy for the week with a lazy 166. If you put your C on him, you're a legend. And for Melbourne, I went a bit left with this one. Christian Salem was my best.
Yeah.
32 touches, 30 kicks. And that's incredible.
He did. Some of those numbers get inflated because he is the designated kick.
Yeah, kick out. Yeah, right.
But at the same time, he still had. I thought he was their best player by a long way.
10 intercepts for the game as well. Absolutely had a really great time. My moment for this game, second quarter, Port's debutants are starting to just run over the top of the ground. Just really starting to make their impact. Is starting to outrun Melbourne. Dersma breaks the line, streams into the 50, and he handballs. There's this massive handball over to Zach Butters, who streams in and kicks his first goal.
I love this kid, Brenton.
Zach Butters.
He is my new love child.
I told you,
I love him
mate. I told
so
you
much.
he's a massive sneak. Okay, he sneaked those goals in the JLT, and we got this delivered on a platter
so
to him.
fast.
Yeah,
He's quick. He makes the right decisions. He keeps running. He made a few mistakes. Got up, kept tackling. Love his work.
Port's kids won them this game. The fact that their kids were
ran rings around Melbourne
they
in the second
outclassed
quarter.
the Melbourne
Game
midfield.
was done at half time.
Yeah.
I know it was still close. The game was finished.
Yeah.
Melbourne was so tired, man.
Yeah, exactly. Big win at the MCG for Port Adelaide. They only have a 42 win percentage there, so to get one over, at the home of football is a big one for them. Melbourne struggle going forward. McDonald and Wiedemann very quiet in this game.
Yeah.
And I think looking back on my preseason predictions, did I overrate Melbourne? I had them at the top of the ladder, and I had Port at 11.
Still round 1.
It's round 1.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I think Ryan Burton fits really well in a Port Adelaide side, and Stephen May to come back. I think Melbourne will be better.
They've still got a College Ashney as well to come back into
Yeah.
that Melbourne side in defence. Don't know if Jordan Lewis actually is in their best 22, but he does provide some stability.
That's a big call.
Nah, I thought after last year's finals performance, he was a liability in defence. He's still a good leader, but man, I don't think he deserves to be in their best 22.
Really interesting to hear from Ken Hinkley in his post-match presser. He said it was his best win in his time at coaching the club, including all the finals that they won. And,
Good on him.
I remember back a couple of years ago when they went on that crazy run and everyone went, they're going to win the flag.
They lost to Hawthorn by a kick in the
prelim. Yeah. For him to come out and say, knocking off Melbourne when everyone was doubting us and with the list that we have,
6 4 debutants to AFL, but 6 new players they brought in.
Yeah.
That's massive.
It is massive. And so I thought that was a big comment. Unsung hero, Scotty Lysett for me from Port Adelaide. 16 hitouts, which was the same amount as Ryder, and totally nullified Gawn's impact. The two of them just went, we're just going to muscle him. Mate, I kept seeing, in about 5 minutes, Gawn just kept falling on the ground. So well done to Scotty. And also Jake Melksham really stood up for Melbourne, when no one else would. 4-goal assists and 8 marks. He had the most marks of any Melbourne player. So
he's come a long way since his Essendon days. I didn't really like him when he played there. I thought he was a little bit of
I still don't like him. But
I know you don't. But Jake the Snake, I thought, you know what? I like him now he's at Melbourne.
Yeah.
He led last year for goal assists.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so good on him. I gave 1 vote to Tom Rockcliffe. Reason I'm giving the 1, he had 44 touches and 31 are uncontested. And this is, a lot of people don't like talking about it, but he only had 504 metres gained. When you compare that with Christian Salem, who had 12 less touches, he had 740 metres gained.
Yeah.
So it's a massive difference. Rockcliffe has all these tiny little handballs that just go unnoticed. So I only gave him the 1. I gave Big Westhoff 2 votes, kicking a bag of 5 and, did his work for them. And then Travis Boak, who I love with. He got my best on ground.
All right, well, I'll go to the next game. This is a game where I thought Adelaide were going to trance Hawthorn. And they probably should have, but Hawthorn, they just keep defying. They keep showing us why they're still have the best coach in the league for me.
Exactly right.
Hawthorn, 12 goals, 15.87, defeat Adelaide, 7 goals, 13.55. And this was at Adelaide Oval, which makes it so much more impressive. There were doubles to Brad Crouch, Eddie Betts, and then singles. First gamer, Chase Jones.
Yeah.
Good on him. Got a goal. Sloane and Matty Crouch. Hawthorn goal scorers, 2 to O'Meara, Cousins, Warple, and Big Boy McAvoy.
Big boy.
That's it. And then singles to Liam Shields, Isaac Smith, and Luke Bruce. Top performer for me for Hawthorn, Jager O'Meara.
Yeah.
He had a fantastic game.
Yeah.
He's showing that he can fill that void, not by himself, but I think him and Warple are going to be a combination that can definitely fill the Tom Mitchell void.
He's paying Hawthorn back for, people were saying when the trade went through that they were nuts for what they gave up for him. But, yeah, if he pays them back this year, and he has been, I think he will. I think he's a gun. But, yeah, absolutely.
Here's a good stat from O'Meara's game. He had 30 pressure acts, which was in the top 2. He was ranked second that day. That's not from your forward. That's from your midfield.
Yeah, exactly right.
24 touches, 8 score involvements, 5 inside 50s, 2 snags. That's a solid day. Big tick from me.
Yep.
Top performer for Adelaide, Rory Sloane. He had 36, 8 score involvements and 11 clearances. He went along with 1 goal as well. Unsung hero for Hawthorn, Ben McAvoy. He's the kind of ruckman that you just take him on your team.
Yeah.
He's great. He kicked 2 crucial goals to steady the ship when Adelaide started getting a little bit back on top of the game. He nullified Jacobs, and he took 5 contested marks. If my ruckman's doing that every game, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, exactly right.
Unsung hero for Adelaide, and I think it's giving him this because it's his first game back in a year, and that's Brad Crouch. He returned to the AFL and had a really good outing, 28 disposals. He kicked 2 goals. He linked up well with his brother and Sloane. I think the midfield can hold their head higher. They actually did really well. It didn't look like he'd played just 1 game last season at the start, and I think it'll only get better. The moment for me was when Tom Doedee went down, rupturing his ACL in the second quarter. For me, it was less than 10 points in it at halftime.
Yeah.
So it was still really close, and Adelaide's defence was starting to gel a little bit more. And to see him go down, they just couldn't get back to that same structure.
Yeah.
So it's a massive loss for the Crows. We wish him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
I hope he comes back quicker, bigger and better next year, because he's like the next guy to key defenders that's going to dominate our game.
Yeah.
I love the way he plays.
I remember watching him last year when he I think he was told he was going to play his first game and ringing his mum.
Yeah.
It's just a character. He seems like a really good guy.
He could potentially be the next captain of that club.
Yeah.
And I hope he does.
For a young kid to go down with an ACL, I feel bad for Rance as well, but just because, in his second year, I feel pretty bad for him.
Some general notes. Warple and O'Meara, they look like they can fill the Tom Mitchell void. I love the way the defence set up against Adelaide. The talls in Mira and Stratton did really well to nullify the Adelaide talls. They basically, Tex Walker was blanketed by their structure. Stratton is a great choice as captain. Spewing he cut off the mullet. still
got the
did
professional
really well.
look.
That's it. Adelaide looked really slow coming out of defence, even with Miller and Smith. I think they get Greenwood and Seedsman back in a couple of weeks. Just helps with their structure a bit. But they'll want to sort out their structure soon because it just didn't work. And for me, best on ground, O'Meara. I gave 2 to Sloane. I don't normally like giving votes to more than 1 vote to players that don't win.
Yeah.
But I thought he was fantastic. And Warple, I gave the 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Because they won in that manner,
Yeah.
I wouldn't normally give them votes. But because Sloane he was just so dominant.
Yeah, dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were my takes on the game. What about the next one?
Mate, this is what I'm so excited to talk about. I've been wearing my victory polo at work all day. Got my
I thought
Lions
you were
polo
talking
on.
about St Kilda and
Oh,
Gold Coast.
please. Before I go on, I have to apologise to my godmother. Sorry, Melinda. I spent your son's birthday sitting on my phone watching the game.
It was for work.
That's my favourite thing now too.
Yeah.
I had the phone propped up. Happy birthday, Lachlan, 21. Loves the show. Had the phone propped up and, people walking by going, well, what are you doing? I go, it's for the podcast. And people leave you alone. We should have been doing this for years. We've been getting away with this for ages.
Hasn't worked with my wife, mate. doing it for work. No, you're not.
You're not. All right, the mighty Brisbane Lions knocked off the reigning premiers. Brisbane kicking 15-12, 102 to West Coast 8-10, 58. Goal scorers for the Lions, super recruit Lynchy McCarthy kicked 4 goals. Big Lynchy got the number 11. Jeez, I'm happy to see it back. Charlie Cameron kicking 3, and then Rayner kicking a couple. McCluggage, Neil, Zorko, Bastanak, Matheson, and Rich all with 1. For West Coast, Darling and Allen both kicked 2. Ryan, Yo, Sheed, and Venables all kicking a single. Top performers for the West Coast, one player who, probably the only one who was on for the day, Dom Sheed, grand final hero. Oh, does that still hurt?
Yeah, it hurts a little bit. They have played that so much on Fox Footy. Every time I'm sitting to wait to watch a game, they've always got "We're Flying High" on, and I tell you what, it still hurts.
He had 38 touches, 7 marks, and 3 tackles.
Although I am happy with that. I picked him up in Elite this year.
Yeah, well done. Lockie Neal, my top performer for the Lions, 29 touches, 6 intercepts, going to 86%. Just fills the hole that Dane Beam leaves. Every time there, a ball came out from the bottom of the pack, there was, Lockie was the one flicking it out there. I have 2 moments from this game, mostly because I'm a bloody excited Lions supporter.
It's your time to shine, mate. Enjoy
my first one, which is probably the one that most people would say was their moment from this game, was Charlie Cameron kicking his 3rd goal. Wrestling with young Cole, the West Coast defender, and just goes, no, you know what? I'll just stand in the goal square and pick this ball up and kick it over my head, and then just turn around to the crowd and give him a little couple of, wavy fingers and go, how good am I? It is good to be back playing football. And he just gives the Lions so much more potency going forward.
Definitely.
But this was the moment for me, and, this was the moment where I went, you know what? We're going to win this game.
Yep.
It was 11 minutes into the 3rd quarter. We were pushing the ball forward, and then we have a turnover on the half forward line. And I go, and this was usually a time where we get caught out, the structure would fall apart, and you'd score at the other end. Elliot Yeo, who's an absolute star, and I still miss him, he's streaming down the wing. He takes 1 bounce, and then he looks around and tries to jump on the brakes, and Lincoln McCarthy comes out of nowhere and drags him to the ground holding the ball. And I just thought, that is the moment for me. The fact that a chase down tackle when everything was falling apart, the kid's a jet, and I went, right, we're in this now. We could win this. Some notes for me. Jeez, I've got some stats that really make me happy here. First of all, in the first quarter, it looked like the Eagles, really capitalised and were on top of the game. But the scoring shots were very similar. And as a Lions supporter, it felt like the odd junk time goals against us in the first quarter were just, going to let us lose another game. But after that, to kick 14 goals to only 2, having 9 unanswered goals, would put a smile on every Lions supporter's face. Luke Hodge is the most physical footballer in the AFL. He punched Jack Darling straight out in the mouth, and I won't be surprised if he gets a week. But he just brings that physicality along with, Mitch Robbo and stuff like that really makes those younger players stand tall. The off-season recruits for the Lions have been outstanding. Charlie Cameron coming back, not a new recruit, but coming back.
Essentially is like having a new recruit. He
only
played a few games
11 games last year.
Yeah.
But then, you include Lincoln McCarthy, you include Lockie Neal, you include Jared Lyons. They've all taken this Lions list to another level. The Lions kicked 8 goals, 5 from stoppages, which was the most of any team in round 1. Steph Martin, playing a big role in the ruck. He didn't dominate the game, but just giving this Lions midfield brigade first use of the footy, going forward with a new 6-6-6. That's where the Lions will score a lot of their points.
What do you reckon, 5-0?
I don't know. I told you this. Start putting the pressure on. My favourite stat from the weekend. The Eagles' 44-point loss to the Brisbane Lions is the biggest round 1 loss by a reigning premier in VFL AFL history since Richmond lost by 62 points to Carlton in 1981.
Wow.
Get a load of that, mate. In that year, Carlton went on to win the flag, and then they won it again in 82. So I'm just saying, it's been done before.
You had them 12. You can't be happy. Sorry. I had them in my 8. I'm taking this
Fair enough. Unsung hero for the Lions, Zach Bailey. Young kid, couldn't get into the team. He's now gone down to the half-back line, and he provides Brisbane with that fast outlet, that run and carry, that I was hoping that Daniel Rich would do for such a long time. But, props to him. I hope he keeps his spot. He was my unsung hero for the Lions. Oscar Allen for West Coast.
Yep.
No JJ. He was the one who stood up. He kicked 2 and had 1 assist, so he was involved in 3 of their 4 goals. Wait,
Yep.
how many goals they kicked? No, 8, sorry.
8.
I got a bit excited, thought they only kicked 4. So well done to Oscar. I gave 1 vote to Lincoln McCarthy.
Yep.
Kicking 4. Look, a few of them were running into the goal square, but being in the right place at
gotta
the
be
right
there.
time and for that beautiful rundown. I gave 2 to a player who I think is going to become the next elite midfielder at Brisbane. And if you ever hear Chris Fagan, he talks about him all the time. His name's Hugh McCluggage. And he didn't get a bunch of the ball, but he got important disposals, like ones where, especially in the forward line, he was teeing up goals. He's going to be a real jet, and I picked him in my fantasy team.
did.
And watch him be really great. And then my 3 votes best on ground, Lachie Neale. I've already spoken a lot about him. Really impressed with the way he started his footy. All right, mate, what we got up
So you
next?
still have him 12th.
Look, for now, I've still got him 12th. I'm just very happy with how we started the season. We started off on the right foot, and to be totally
You're going to
honest,
be 2-0 this week. You know that.
oh, don't start going to tips. We're not doing tips right now.
I'm just letting you know. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, please.
Western Bulldogs versus Sydney. This was actually a really good performance by the Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs 11-16, 82 defeat Sydney 9-11, 65. Goal scorers Bulldogs Aaron Norton, the key defender, 3 goals. Gowers and Lloyd both had doubles, and then singles to the Bont, Shaki, Jure and Richards. Goal scorers for Sydney, there were 2 to Sam Reid and Heaney, and singles to Franklin, Blakey in his first game, Hayward, Mills and the Papa. Top performers, Marcus Bontempelli for me was best on ground.
Yeah.
He had 29 disposals at 72% efficiency. He had 9 score involvements and 6 inside 50s. He kicked the winning goal. The goal that basically sealed it for him. Top performer from Sydney, Jakey Lloyd. This is massive. He had 35 touches, all right, at 86% efficiency. Okay, not only that, over 30 of those disposals, I was listening to this on Fox Footy, were all pressure disposals.
Yeah, right. Oh,
That is massive.
Yeah.
He had 7 score involvements, 10 rebound 50s, 7 1%ers and 10 marks.
Yeah.
He can go home happy.
Yeah,
he had a good outing. Unsung hero for Western Bulldogs, Aaron Norton. I have heard so much, this guy copped so much flack after the JLT. I was listening to them on SEN and everything saying, leave him down back. Why are you playing him up forward? They've moved him there out of necessity because Shaki can't do it on his own and there's no Boyd. Yeah? He had 3 goals, all right? He was the match winner. 8 score involvements, 5 marks inside 50, 3 of them contested, and he was essentially their match winner. He was their goal scorer. Unsung hero, Tom Papley for Sydney. He had 19 touches at 80% efficiency, and he had 6 tackles. I've never seen a player under sort of the Sydney system play so attacking. They've always been really good defensive team. Every time he gets the ball, he does something with it. I just love watching him play. He's got that little bit of grunt. He never wastes it. The moment, and this is an honourable mention to Heaney's hanger in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolute ripper. I can't even get off the ground for a second. I reckon he hung there for about 8 seconds on the way down.
Do you reckon he got mark of the year again 2 years in a row?
Nah, just wait for Jeremy Howe.
No, please.
Hey, he got... Anyway. But for me, the moment was Sydney, they had a resurgence in the second half. They were within a kick. They were 5 points down after a buddy goal, after being 40 points down halfway through the third. But there was a Toby McLean tackle at the halfback flank. He got back up, kept running, got involved in the scoring chain that kicked the ball inside 50 to Bont on the chest, and they went on and kicked the goal. That put them 11 points up, and then Lloyd of the Sam variety kicked the game winner. The game was over. So that second effort from Toby McLean resulted in the Bontempelli goal. That, for me, that turned the game, especially because the doggies look rattled. Dogs midfield, they faded in the fourth after dominating for 3 quarters. They've had some handy players in there, and they just apply so much extra perceived pressure around the ball. There were so many times where Sydney players had time and space, and they were freaking out because they thought they were about to get tackled by the Dogs. And that's how they played in 2016 that won them the flag.
Yeah.
Not saying they're going to I still have him outside my 8, but it's good to see him playing that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Libba and Wallace, if they stay fit, the Dogs are a serious chance of improving, possibly stinking into that 8 bracket because they're just so pivotal.
Yeah.
They provide grunt. They provide a little bit of physicality, which is what we love to see. Sydney playing exactly like they did last year, and they're getting beaten out of games early and like trying to fight back. So they need to work on that. They can't come out slow. And it seems taxing. Franklin shouldn't have played this game.
Yeah.
He had 2 touches at halfway through the third quarter, and he looked cooked. He found some ball in the last quarter, but he was convincingly beaten. For me, the 3 goes to Marcus Bontempelli, 2 to Jack McRae, and 1 to Lockie Hunter.
Beautiful, mate. I drew the short straw with this one.
What do you mean?
This
was a ripper.
I was the one who had to watch St Kilda
win.
play Gold Coast. And you know what? That's exactly right. It came down to the wire and Dent was entertaining. St Kilda got over the line 13-7, 85, knocking off Gold Coast 13-6, 84. One solitary point there. We're going to try and push through this a little bit. So Joshy Bruce kicked 3 for the Saints, whilst Alex Sexton with 4 majors for the Suns. Marvel Stadium might have a new name, but it's still rubbish turf. The fact that we've got these holes coming up already, it just doesn't look like an AFL-worthy ground. The fact this is the home of the AFL, they have full control over that stadium now, is pathetic.
Yeah.
I think since the Big Bash final, which the service was pristine, there was an AFLW doubleheader, and I went back and had a look at the match footage, and the ground was in pretty okay condition then.
Yeah.
Since then, there was one A-League game, which again, the surface shouldn't have been torn up that badly on the wings. This is just a management, I feel. And it's just,
Well, you reckon they just haven't come back to the ground
to
look after
yeah,
it?
they went on strike. We'll go down the Napier, have a couple of beers, and just totally forgot about it. Left their jobs behind. But I tell you what I'm worried about? I'm worried about, this round. What's going to happen this round? Because, I remember a few years ago, just players doing crazy injuries, ripping divots up. You shouldn't have the bloody boundary umpire having to go and fill up a hole. It's just rubbish. For the Suns, Little Parker ripped this game apart, and he brings some real spice and flavour to this Saints midfield. Sorry, not midfield, but just their list.
Yeah.
Their neck tats, the celebrations. I love him.
I love him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he just, I'm sorry to St Kilda supporters, but he just brings some flavour. He
makes you want to like the club.
He's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. The Suns forward line going the Richmond way with one big tall, and then just a whole bunch of smaller crummers. I think David Swallow needs to stay fit because he brings that leadership.
Yeah.
And their forward line, with him in it, just looks so much more organised. This was an entertaining game with a great finish, but it still looked like 17th versus 18th.
Yeah.
There were, Satan Sun supporters would have been on the edge of their seats, but it was a scrappy game with fumbles and loopy, inaccurate kicks and throw-ins galore.
Yeah.
My moment was there was 14 seconds left in the game. There's the seesawing contest, and there's a ball up on the wing. Tap comes down, and Took Miller does this loopy handball over the pack, and I think it was Gresham gathers the ball up and kicks it into their forward line. Game over. Took Miller, be better, mate. You can't be handballing like that over everyone.
No.
My unsung hero, Jack Steele for the Saints. 10 tackles, the most in the league of round 1. And with the players of more than 20 touches, only he and Took Miller had 1 turnover for a game that was, had plenty of errors. So he was my unsung hero. For Gold Coast, Jared Harbrow, flies under the radar a little bit, 6 rebound 50s, and he had 18 touches with 100% efficiency.
Yeah.
Again, looking for players who, in a poor, scrappy game, who actually had good skills. Big tick to those 2. I gave 1 vote to Jack Billings. 2 votes to Braden Ferrarini. Good Victorian boy.
Fiorini, for those Italian listeners.
Oh, sorry. And then my best on ground, I went to Seb Ross.
Yeah.
All right,
the
mate.
most overrated, underrated footballer in the competition.
Do you reckon it's just evening out now?
He's rated now.
He's rated now. Yeah, last year was the year he sort of came out.
Yeah. All right, GWS versus Essendon. I actually sat down and watched this game this morning because I worked yesterday. But with a bit of curiosity, because I think we both were unsure of both of these teams.
Absolutely.
I think we basically had them swapped on our ladders. I had Essendon in the 8 and GWS, and you had them sort of like outside.
I had them both missing, yeah.
Yeah, you had them both missing. So for me, watching this game, I had a bit of a keen interest. The Giants defeated Essendon 16 goals 16 112 to Essendon 5-10 40. So it was a bit of a shellacking.
A bit.
Yeah. GWS goal scorers 4 to Jeremy Cameron, 3 to Lockie Keefe and Canelio. What a game from Canelio.
Canelio, yeah.
2 goals to Taranto, Daniel Lloyd, and then singles to Green and Himmelberg. Essendon goal scorers 2 to Langford and singles to Francis, Bagley and Stringer. Top performers, best on ground, GWS, Stephen Canelio. 3 goals, 31 touches, 10 goal score involvements and 2 goal assists, 7 clearances, 8 inside 50s. He was everywhere. I love the way he plays. Top performer for Essendon, there weren't many. It was actually shocking to watch them play. They looked so disorganised, but I'm going to give their best performer Dyson Heppel.
Yep.
With a little bit of a knock.
Please.
Okay. So Dyson Heppel, he had 25 touches. He had 76% efficiency, 6 inside 50s and 4 rebound 50s. He had a good game. He had a lot of attention. If he's going to lead this club and he's going to be your captain, you got to get the ball moving. He gets to. I know his natural position is playing across halfback, and he's been pushed into the midfield because he's such an elite ball winner. But for me, Dyson Heppel, he gets too many disposals in the back half. We knocked Cochin for years, not us, but like as in the media, have knocked Cochin for years.
The media?
Well,
just call us the media.
No, not us. The media.
Put us with them. Yeah,
The
please.
The media knocked Cochin for so many years because he got so many back half disposals, all those little cheapies. Heppel's going down that path.
Yeah.
Cochin's transformed himself into a strong leader, and he's done that on the back of getting the ball inside the forward half of the ground.
Yeah.
Heppel needs to do the same.
Yeah.
I want him to do well, but at the same time, he really needs to step up.
Yeah.
All right. Unsung hero for GWS, Lachlan Keefe. He had a rough time getting back to it. For those of you that don't know, he was involved in a drug saga or a drug scandal where
early.
He missed out on 2 years of playing footy.
Josh Thomas, was he the other one?
Yeah, he was involved with Josh Thomas as well. So he injured himself in the start of the game in a marking contest in defence, and I thought he'd done his ACL. Came back, all strapped on, put him in the forward pocket. He came to fill the spot in the forward line. He booted 3 goals, and he looked like a good foil for Jeremy Cameron this year. And it's good to see a bloke that was trying to reach the potential he showed from a few seasons ago. And I see him as a good third tall option for him. He can replace Rory Lobb. 200 centimetres.
Yeah.
Like the way he plays. Unsung hero for Essendon. Once again, this is hard because there was such a dismal performance. But Kyle Langford, he had 18 touches, 2 goals and 5 score involvements. For me, he was their best player. The moment, Keefe's first goal in the second term. The game was already over by then. But he came back with his knee, and it was all taped up. He took a beautiful slips catch with his right hand from an intercepted mark. From the kick in, he went back and slotted it, and all the boys just got around him. And from there, it was just landslide.
Yeah.
Is Shield overrated?
No.
No?
Yeah, he had an off one. He's not overrated.
Was he just the Abarth in the Ferrari garage?
In
the GWS in the midfield? I think he's a good player.
Mate. Oh.
But he definitely was not the best player in the GWS midfield. He definitely wasn't. Tim Taranto is a better player than Dylan Shield. I'm going to put it out there.
No, he's not.
When he's been tagged in games, he's gone missing. All right. The Giants look better with Taranto in the midfield mix because he's got forward presence. He kicks goals. And just wait till Kelly comes back in. They've got a good mix in the forward line. Perryman and Green, along with Himmelberg and Lloyd, provide good ground ball and aerial backup for Cameron and Keefe. Once again, it's round 1, but Essendon can't afford a slow start this year like they did. 3 votes to Canelio, 2 to Taranto, and 1 to Whitfield across halfback.
Perfect. All right, mate, the final game of the round. Another one that I didn't see coming.
I did.
You did, please. Not by this margin, you didn't.
Well, you didn't ask me how much that was by.
Mate, we sat down and had a watch of this game together, and it was nuts. Fremantle.
It was over by the time we turned it on.
Fremantle stormed home 21-15, 141, defeating North Melbourne 9-5, 59. Big Cam McCarthy kicking another bag of 5 up there, leading the common with West Hoff.
After round 1.
The Hoff. Hey, man, you're leading it. You're leading it. And then Benny Brown and the new kid, Bailey Scott, with 2 each for...
Like this boy.
Yeah, I do too. The moment of the game for me, Cam McCarthy, who's finally had a haircut and got rid of that rubbish. I think that's directly correlated to his performance.
Realise it was.
I didn't know it was him
McCarthy.
either. Nah.
I'm like, who's this? 25 bloke?
He's been kicking... he kicked a few goals from set shots from about 40, 50 out, which I always like. But his last goal came at red time in the third. Contested ball through the middle. Fife's done a beautiful dish out to McCarthy, who's running past, unloads from the centre square and kicks his fifth. Right just before the third quarter ends, and Fremantle are over 100 points for the game before the third quarter, before three-quarter time. That was a moment for me. You really felt like they had a point to prove. The greatest winning margin, which was 82 points, that Fremantle has ever had over North Melbourne since the club.
Wow.
Since the club started. Fremantle scored 14 goals from intercepts. Half of those came from the forward half of the ground. They dominated North Melbourne. They were incredibly all their pickups that we spoke about, Aaron Hall, Dom Tyson, Jared Pollock, all below expectations.
Yeah, they were all really ordinary.
They were all ordinary. North Melbourne had 14 shots on goal from 47 inside 50s. That was the lowest conversion rate of the round.
Yeah. We did say, though, will they gel? How long is it going to take?
Yeah, but it shouldn't have this much of... who's going to stand out? Ben Brown had 0 marks for the game. Like, come on, you got to stand up there.
You've also brought in 3 really offensive players.
Yeah.
Pollock, Hall, and, Pittard.
Yeah.
They're all really offensive.
Yeah, exactly. In the first half, by half-time, Fremantle had surpassed their average score for the 2018 season of 75 points. Far out. And the final thing I want to talk about for this game, just in my general comments, Fife's sleeve. Had surgery on the off-season. Everyone's starting to talk about it.
Shooting sleeve.
I hate it. And I know...
Nick Kyrgios rocks that.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm not a fan of it. It reminds me of the American sports, and I'm sick of this, Americanization. All these holding these boards up was absolute rubbish. Oh, 25, you got to come off now. No, and then they didn't even bloody work, and we had to have these yellow and red signs standing up. Some poor bloke standing on the boundary line. He doesn't want his head on TV.
Surely we can get the ones from the soccer, the ones where you input it into a computer and it comes up. No. So these blokes have to manually do it.
Yeah.
Just give them ones like from the soccer. You just put it into a computer, it comes up, and then no one has to hold anything.
Mate, I wasn't a fan. And look,
can't be that expensive.
I'm digressing. I'm talking about the sleeve here. It reminds me of Carmelo Anthony. I'm not a fan. What do you think of the sleeve, champ?
No, I don't like it.
Not a fan of it either.
It serves no purpose.
I couldn't believe I was listening to the radio this morning. A few older gentlemen on a particular Melbourne sports radio were saying how much they loved it. I'm like, get off it, please. You both signed up with Skins. They got their order coming in the mail.
That's it.
Ridiculous. Unsung hero for me, Fremantle. Alex Pearce, 12 intercepts and 8 rebound 50s. Had a really good game. Flies under the radar. And a bloke who I think will probably miss a week because he had a massive hit off the ball, but I really like him. He'll probably get a few unsung heroes from me. Ben Cunnington.
Yeah.
6 inside 50s, 7 score involvements and 7 clearances. When your side is, really struggling, you need someone to stand up, and he was doing his best to try and carry his side. I gave 1 vote to Cam McCarthy. Just beautiful leading patterns, and going back and finishing is what you need to do as a big key forward.
Yeah.
2 votes to Bradley Hill, but my best on ground, Nat Fife.
Yeah.
Mate, that rounds out our reviews.
Yeah.
Jeez, we spoke for a while about that.
But that's all right. Probably a little bit over, but we'll keep going.
We've had enough positives now. I want to talk about what were some of the lowlights, mate. What was your shank of the week?
My shank of the week.
Please.
All right. Keyboard warriors, my friend.
Ooh.
Now, I'm not gonna bring up the Taylor Harris thing because I think it's been done to
death.
Done,
absolutely.
Yeah. But there was another incident over social media over the weekend, and it was 4 days before the events of Taylor Harris, and it was Cecilia McIntosh, who's now a former AFLW player and a part of the inaugural Collingwood women's team. She retired. She announced her retirement after the game. To give you a bit of background about Cecilia, she won the 2002 silver medal in javelin at Commonwealth Games. She's represented her country in the 2010 Winter Olympics for bobsledding in Vancouver, where she made the finals. She's also runner-up at the Australian Powerlifting Championships in 1997.
Bit of an athlete.
Just a little bit. She decided at 27 years old that she would take on another challenge and try her hand at women's footy, getting it going in life. In 2007, in her first season playing for Melbourne Uni, she won the best first-year player, and 2 years later, topped the goal scoring for 35 goals in a season. In 2015, she was drafted to Melbourne FC and tore her ACL in the first match, that match between the Dogs and Melbourne, where they did that single one-off match. Tore her ACL. In the first AFLW draft in 2016, she was taken by Collingwood at pick 123. This was when she was 37 years old. At age 39, after a strenuous career of representing her country across multiple sports, being a part of the inaugural AFLW, she decided to hang her boots up after 17 games. Now, they are shorter seasons.
Absolutely.
But she was battling some serious injuries. She was carried off the field by her captain, Steph Chiocci, and it was applauded by all the teammates, all the supporters, and how much of a champion athlete, person, and role model she's been for women and men across the country. After the game, the AFLW Facebook shared a post from the Collingwood Facebook page of a photo of her being chaired off. The response she received via social media was nothing short of disgusting. Talks about her appearance, her tattoos, questioning her commitment to the game, sarcasm about her longevity in the game, as well as some sexist generalizations. One comment stood out amongst the pack as it came from a former AFL player who shall not be named because he does not deserve breath in the conversation.
Nice one.
I will not repeat the comments, because they don't deserve to be aired at all. But what I can say is that this player only played 6 AFL games himself. After hearing what Cecilia has done for the club, her country, and for grassroots women's footy, hearing a comment from a person is saddening that this stigma towards the women's game still exists.
Yeah.
It's awful. What makes me even sadder is that his comment was liked and loved 445 times. The post was removed, and the post was not put back up by the AFLW. I understand that Cecilia may have not wanted to bring the same attention to herself, because obviously she's going out, she's got family commitments, all that kind of stuff, as Taylor did, and Taylor's in a forum now where she can continue to show that, you know, she's strong and she will lead the way for this type of behaviour. What people need to understand is that we are not tolerating this behaviour anymore.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Enjoy the game we have, regardless of the format. We have access to the most entertaining sport in the world at our doorstep. Footy's the best. All right? There's so much good that our players do, male or female. Doesn't matter the colour of skin, doesn't matter their ethnicity, it doesn't matter what coffee they like to drink. You know, there are far more good things going on right now and being done by them. And the focus should be so much on the negativity and the trolls rather than being in the moment. We've just had an amazing round 1. We've just had the AFLW finals. You know, ripping games. We've got an amazing AFLW final in Adelaide this week. That's what we should be focusing on.
Absolutely.
And my shank is definitely the trolls.
Those Muppets. I don't like the use of the word trolls. And I know it's been really pushed by the media. And it's just because I feel like, for me personally, a troll is someone who might not even have that opinion, but they go online to incite, not hatred, but they go into, you know, get discussions and whatever, and they want a reaction from these trolls. I feel like most of these people actually have these opinions. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know, just super hurtful. You know, wake up, get with the times, you know, honestly. I feel like I'm being a bit of a young person here trying to say, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, but I don't know. I'm totally with you that, you know, you need to pull your head in.
Yeah, that's it.
Fair enough.
All right, what was your shank, mate?
Mate, my shank of the week, I've come home, round 1 started. It's been a long time without, you know, the AFL. And I thought it was the first game back. I've got a great feeling. I've gone to bed with a smile on my face, knowing that it's back and that I've got a full weekend of footy to look forward to. And then I wake up in the morning and the first thing that I see is a bunch of Muppets throwing hands at the footy on Thursday night. Seriously, you guys are my shank.
Yeah.
One bloke, a 19-year-old, fined $322. Like, the punishment just isn't severe enough. You know, Gillen's speaking of banning them, just do it, okay? This isn't acceptable behaviour at the football. Seeing families scuttle around them is upsetting to me. You know, my wife, Roxanne, she doesn't need another excuse not to come to the football, mate. I need to push hard just to get her there. And you know what?
Ridiculous.
Parents shouldn't have to be trying to leave the footy. There's already, all these thousands of people trying to leave, pushing past people. That bloke who threw that hook and clocked that kid in the face, you should be getting more than a $322 fine, mate.
That's the thing. This stuff overseas, when there are confrontations and things like that, people do get banned. They get banned from games. You're not allowed to come back. You can't come back for a season. You have your membership banned. They play in front of closed stadiums.
Yeah.
Overseas when there are riots like this. This wasn't a riot, but this is what it leads to.
Exactly.
I mean?
Stamp this behaviour out.
Yeah.
You've got an opportunity now, Gillen. Do something about it, mate.
We're one of the few sports in the world where you can go to, you and me, Brisbane and Collingwood supporters can sit next to each other at the footy.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in soccer overseas, and there's a reason why, because this behaviour wasn't
exactly
stamped
right.
out.
Exactly right. So you know what? Yeah. Grow up, Muppets.
That's it.
You're not going there to throw hands. All right, mate.
Take me to fantasy school, Brenton.
I'll take you to fantasy school, all right? I'm not sure if I'm the best teacher in the world, but fantasy school. I want to talk first a bit about my fantasy team, the Mighty Falcons. No matter what league I'm playing in, I'm always the Mighty Falcons. Another shout-out, Ryan. G'day, Ryan. As a kid, I was a mad Holden fan. I was one of those school kids who loved his cars way too much. Bit weird, but anyway, it's all in the past now. And when I was in year 12, my cousin offered me an opportunity I couldn't resist. A 1996 white EF Ford Falcon. It had a massive exhaust. The sound system was worth more than what the car was. And he said, $1,000 and you can have it. I was in love with that car and I still am. I still miss it every day. Rip Effie. So calling my team the Mighty Falcons with also a bit of a reference to Geelong's Footy Factory. You can look me up, but don't look at me this week. AFL Fantasy. In our classic, I scored a reasonable 2,056 in the top 17%. But
come at me.
No,
bro.
don't even. We won't say that you topped the league with 2,235. I still won my match. I said I was going for league wins. In my fantasy draft, also got a win there, so I'm on 2 for 2. And then in Ultimate, I also won my Ultimate matchup. Drew in 3 categories, but mate, 3 for 3 from the weekend.
A bit like Brisbane.
But you know what? Well, I've said I wanted to focus on Supercoach, and I'm focusing. I didn't even crack $2,000, mate. 1983 I had. I'm currently ranked 73,000. That is atrocious. I might not be going for rankings. I'm certainly going for the leagues, and boy, am I happy that our league doesn't start until round 3. I have 2 rounds to get my team in order. 74 players scored more than 100 points on the weekend. I only had 7, and one of them was on the bench. The top league scorers in Supercoach this week was Bontempelli had 158, Sloan with 155, and Caniglio with 154. Now, mate, this is fantasy school, and we like to keep the schoolyard traditions going here. When you're at school, you used to talk about who would you kiss, who would you marry, who would you kill. But here, we're going to do who are we going to kiss, who are we going to hold, and who are we going to trade.
Love it.
So from my team this week, the boy I'm giving a big kiss to, Willem Drew. I tell you what, he was one of my favourite green vesters when we were talking about that last week. 103 scores. He's my favourite rookie and one of my only 100-plus players. Count yourselves unlucky, Tim Taranto and Lockie Neal. I'll probably kiss you in the future. I'm holding on to Brodie Grundy.
Yeah.
181. He might have a break even of 224, but you never trade out a premium after one bad game, especially a premium ruckman. He'll come good, and I'll talk more about that later. Trade, nobody. You only get 30 trades. Don't go, doing a knee-jerk reaction this early in the round. Maybe think about trading one of your rookies. Yeah, you only got 30 trades, but think about trading a rookie whose break even's pretty high. For me, probably Noah Bolter. His 18 was rubbish, and
if you haven't got Parker, maybe throw him
in. That's exactly what I'm doing. Few players I got my eyes on from the weekend. Caniglio, like you already said, mate, he dominated that game. I'm probably thinking I'll probably sideways trade Angus Brayshaw if Brayshaw doesn't get up this week. Needs to lift a bit for me. Nick Newman as well. He had 134 with a negative break even now in defence. And Tommy Rockcliffe, the pig, is back.
That's it.
Negative 55 break even from a massive midfielder. If he can do it again this week, remember your prices don't change until round 3 for you super coaches. Check your break evens. Make sure you're getting your cash in. Okay, one thing I want to talk about fantasy school today, the first lesson, is how to use your captain's loophole. Now, I'm going to focus on Supercoach. You can also do this for fantasy, but it's important that you're aware of the partial lockouts when you're doing it for AFL fantasy. Okay, your captain's loophole is if you can get an opportunity to have 2 players be your captain. then why wouldn't you? So to get a second chance, you need to have a non-scoring player in your squad, such as I've got Jordan Sweet. So I told everyone you should get your bench, your ruck bench. Okay, select a vice captain who plays early in the round. Someone you want to take a chance on as your captain. Someone you think will go big. This week, I'm going Brodie Grundy. Looking for redemption. And the last 3 games against Richmond, he's averaged 136. So I reckon he's going to go big again. There's no reason why he wouldn't. So once you've selected your vice captain, make sure you have a safe alternative captain who plays later in the weekend. So for me, I'm going Patrick Dangerfield. His game's not until Sunday, I don't think, and he's averaged 140 in his last 3 against Melbourne. And I've got my non-scoring player, like I said, Jordan Sweet, and they're both going to play after my vice captain
After
option.
Broads, yeah.
After Broads. Once Broads has played, assess his score. If your vice captain score is captain worthy, so usually about more than 125, you want to use that as your score to be doubled. Now, this is the tricky part, okay? You bring your non-playing player onto the field and you give him your C. You give him the captain. But you need to make sure that the player that you put on the bench, you make them your emergency so that score also counts. You don't want to be getting a donut because you mucked it up. So this will mean that you'll cop the vice captain double up.
Yeah.
And then, and you still get the score from the bench. Say Brodie Grundy doesn't fire or he gets, 110 and I still think Paddy Dangerfield's going to go bigger. Leave it as is. Leave the vice captain on Grundy and keep your C on Paddy Dangerfield and leave your non-scoring player on the bench.
Yeah.
Can be a really great way to boost your score up, having the right captain. Some people putting some vice captains on people like Caniglio and stuff like that, really bumping up your scores. All right, mate, that's fantasy school for this week. Lessons out. Like I said, we'll see if I keep my job next week. I'll be back. It's about making cash at the minute and league wins. So anyway, mate, you know what? This is probably my favourite segment.
Yeah.
Why don't you take it away, champ?
Well, we've got another name for this segment, but we have to keep it clean
Clean
lyrics.
Absolutely.
So we're calling it rubbish stats.
Rubbish.
And there's so many rubbish stats in sport, in particular the AFL. But this for me is the most of the top of the trash can.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Excellent.
The effective disposal. All right. What defines an effective disposal, Brenton?
But I have no idea, mate.
Got no idea?
Tell me,
You
please.
can go on to Champion Data. They've been recording this stat since the early 2000s. They've split it up into 2, effective kick and effective handball. All right? If something is effective, it means it's going to work in your favour.
Correct.
Correctly?
Sure.
Yeah? All right. The definition of an effective kick is, part 1, a kick of more than 40 metres to a 50-50 contest.
Yep.
Or better for the team in possession.
Okay.
All right. Part B, a kick of less than 40 metres that results in the intended target retaining possession. Second one makes sense.
That should just be an effective kick.
Yeah.
Full
okay.
stop.
Full
Yeah.
stop. The first part of this is saying that even if you lose possession or the ball goes out of bounds, it is still an effective stat.
Yeah.
It's still an effective kick. To me, this is counterintuitive. The whole purpose of your kick being effective, all right, you have elected to take a 50% risk option.
Yeah.
All right? Maybe a slight possibility to improve to 70%. Maybe. Percent chance of winning the ball. It should not count as effective if that's the case. A loss of the football directly based on your possession and actions should not be rewarded.
Yeah.
Okay? The latter part, so part B, makes perfect sense. If you kick it to your intended target and he or she marks it, and they have had the opportunity to go back and take their kick, the decision to play on from that player, all right, and if they turn the ball over, that's not your problem.
Has nothing to do with it.
Yeah?
Exactly.
If they drop the mark or whatever, that's their problem, all right? The next point for me is the handball, and this one does my head in. The definition of an effective handball is a handball to a teammate that hits its intended target.
Yeah, good. What's wrong with that?
So, Brenton, if I hand pass you the ball and you're about to get crunched,
Yep.
all right, that's an effective touch. That's an effective handball.
Okay.
Adam Treloar, Taylor Adams, Dyson Heppel, they're number one culprits of this. They will continuously hand pass it to somebody, over their head, under their legs, to somebody that's about to get crunched, and that is counted as an effective stat.
All right.
It's atrocious. So this, by definition, makes zero sense. I can handball it to whoever I want, and as they get tackled, that's counted as an effective stat. Not my problem anymore. My opinion on what defines an effective disposal will make it a little bit harder when you're counting this statistic. However, if you have handballed it to the target, who in turn has had time to decide to offload the ball legally, so if he's had the 2 or 3 seconds to either kick or handball, then it's counted as an effective stat.
Yeah.
You can't count it if it hits you and you get tackled.
Yeah.
I guess in summary, if the actions of the recipient of the ball render your disposal useless, okay? So
Then you're ineffective.
then it's ineffective.
Yeah.
If you elect to take a low percentage option, which for me is anything less than 100%, okay?
Ooh. Yep.
Well, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You're kicking to a 50-50. If you've got a 50% chance of losing the ball,
Yeah.
yet I still get credited with an effective kick.
Yeah.
I'm getting worked up here,
No,
Brenton,
you are. I
but
love
you know
it.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
absolutely atrocious. And this is part 1 of rubbish stats.
Oh, blow the siren there. Bang. Carl, we said we were going to shorten the episodes, and we've gone for a lot longer than we thought we would.
That's all right. This is the first review.
That's it.
People will give us a grace period.
Getting a bit excited and carried away.
It's still less than the first episode.
Absolutely. Carl, we officially had less than 5 listens on Castbox, so we're off Castbox, mate.
Yeah, don't
we're
worry
off
about
Castbox. Please give us a follow on SoundCloud.com /
You and I were the...
the only ones. CHB Podcast. You can also search us up on the Apple Podcast app. Just put in there Centre Half Bench. While you're there, please follow and subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date with everything we're doing. We said earlier about our Twitter polls, twitter.com / CHB Podcast. We'll have our first poll up there about can Richmond still win the flag. Get around that. And give us a like on Facebook if you haven't done so already as well. Facebook.com / Centre Half Bench. Mate, and I think, we'll try and get these out every Monday night.
Yeah.
Try and get a release schedule, and then, probably a Thursday night as well, or the night before the footy starts and all that.
Like I said, I think that was what we said from the start. We're going to get one out earlier on in the week about the reviews.
Yeah.
And then a second one out probably after teams sort of release kind of thing. We'll get something out there in terms of our predictions for the weekend.
All right, legends. So we'll see you later in the week, and go Lions!
Go Pies!